So I want to thank everyone for coming today, and we are very concerned about the announcement by the government last month that this is the head of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission in Japan, that they've decided that they don't have any more room in the tanks of the radioactive water. They've all filled up the tanks, and now is the time to release the water in the Pacific Ocean. They're still producing radioactive water. They're still contaminating the people of Fukushima. And now they have announced to the people of Japan and the people of the world that not only are they going to contaminate the people of Fukushima and Japan, they're going to contaminate the Pacific Ocean with thousands of tons of radioactive water. And the interesting thing about that is that there's no media coverage. You would think that if you're going to dump thousands of tons of radioactive water in the Pacific Ocean, there would be some concern in the media that might come to California, that might come to all the countries of the Pacific Rim, but not any kind of information out. So we have to really get the word out and let people know, and the No Nukes Action Committee has drafted a petition campaign, an international petition campaign, to stop the release of this radioactive water. Maybe Prime Minister Abe should have some tank in front of his home, of the radioactive water. Since he doesn't have it, he says that they solved the problem. Put a tank of radioactive water in front of his home, and then maybe he'll think about the radioactive water problem more seriously than he does. And what we're saying is that we're opposed to militarization, and we want to unite with the people of China, the people of Korea, the people of the Philippines, all the people of Asia who don't want another war. And the Japanese government is also started to rewrite the history books of Japan to eliminate the issue of comfort women, to eliminate the issue of sexual slaves. And why do they want to rewrite the books, the history books in Japan? Well, the reason that they want to rewrite the history books is they want to prepare for a new war. And whenever a country decides that they want to go to war, they have to rewrite their history to falsify the history and change the history. And that's really what's going on in Japan now. The government is seeking to militarize, they're seeking to change the Japanese constitution, and they're getting ready for another military war. And unfortunately, the United States government as well is supporting militarization. While we don't have money for community college to make it free, we do have money for more bases in Okinawa, bases in Jeju, bases all over the world. There are over 700 U.S. military bases around the world. So why would we have money for all these bases, but we don't have money for what people need in this country? If you walk around in San Francisco, there are homeless people, there are people sleeping on the street, there are people who can't get into college, young people can't afford to go to college, yet they have money for war, for more militarization. So we're against militarization. We're saying use the money in Japan to take care of the people of Fukushima, to evacuate the children and the families. Instead, the government is saying that they've decontaminated Fukushima. Fukushima now is a safe place, even though they have to dump the water in the Pacific Ocean. It's a safe place, and they're ordering people to come back, and they said they're going to cut their subsidies if they don't come back. They get about $800 a month. So the Japanese government is trying to coerce the people from Fukushima to go back there, even though it's dangerous to their health. And what we're saying is this is criminal. People of Fukushima have already suffered from contamination. When the plants blew up, there was a hydrogen explosion of the dirty bomb, and plumes blew up and spread over Japan, spread over Fukushima. So they've been contaminated. Why do they have to have further contamination? They should have a right to be evacuated, and there should be a right to have compensation in other places in Japan. So that's another issue that we're taking up as well. And I wanted to let people know that we are going to be having Chieko Shina here. She's from Fukushima. She's going to be coming at the end of next week, and we'll be having a meeting on the 20th of this month at the center there, Friends Center in Cedar Bonita. And we're going to have a film showing, and also Miho Kim is going to talk about a petition campaign against changing the education, the books in Japan. She'll be speaking. So we say, shut the plants down now.
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 No more Fukushima.
No more Fukushima.
Shut the plants down.
Shut the plants down.
No more Fukushima.
No more Fukushima.
Shut the plants down.
Shut the plants down.
And I also wanted to announce that there's going to be a West Coast conference, California conference of people from throughout California organizing. It's going to be in San Luis Obispo near the Diablo Canyon plant on January the 24th and 25th. And some members of No Nukes Action are going to be going there. And we're going to be organizing statewide to close down Diablo Canyon. And also, Jake O'Sheen is going to be speaking there. We're going to unite statewide. And one of the other issues that has come up around the issue of Diablo Canyon is the corruption in California. The California Public Utilities Commission is an agency which is supposed to regulate the Diablo Canyon in Southern California, Edison, where San Onofre was. But this commission was controlled by a guy named Michael Peavy. Michael Peavy used to be an executive of Southern California Edison Utility. So I don't think you put the utility owners or executives in charge of regulating our health and safety protection. You're not going to get very good regulation. It's like foxes guarding the chickens. So that's exactly what was happening. And we took up a campaign. We picketed the California Public Utilities Commission. As a result of that, Michael Peavy was forced to step down last month. And he should go to jail. He should be prosecuted for what he did, because there were emails released that showed that Michael Peavy was actually trying to manipulate the judges in different administrative cases to force the ratepayer to pay more money to Southern California Edison and PG&E, and to allow them to basically lie and conspire to keep these plants open, these nuclear plants open. Also, we're uniting with the smart meter people. These smart meters have been put on our in our utility spaces, and they give off rays, and also we have to pay for them, and they've eliminated jobs of the utility readers. So on top of eliminating jobs, they make us pay for it, and also they're a health hazard. Some people have gotten sick as a result of these meters. So we're going to unite with all the people who are fighting for a real regulation of the utilities and protection of people, and we're going to work to close down Diablo Canyon. We're going to work to unite internationally against the release of this radioactive water, and to educate people in California. And when we get this petition out, you should take it to your union, your organization, and get them to endorse it, because I don't think people are aware that the government of Japan is going to release thousands of tons of radioactive water. I think it's a well-kept secret. Most people don't know about it. So we need to educate people and get government organizations, get Congress people, get everyone to speak out to stop the release of this radioactive water. As we say, you made a mess, clean it up yourself. Don't force other people around the world to get that radioactive water. So I want to thank you, and no more Fukushimas. Defend the children of Fukushima. No more Fukushimas. Defend the children of Fukushima. No more Fukushima. Defend the children of Fukushima. Thank you.
Well, I just have a few philosophical thoughts of encouragement as we begin the new year. And they come from reflecting on my own life and how I grew up in the 1950s, when popular culture was just full of heroic images of war. And the ultimate expression of that was the power of the atomic bomb, which I worshipped as a little boy. I thought this was the greatest thing. I got up early in the morning to watch these tests in the Nevada desert. Of course, I didn't know anything about what happened after those tests. I didn't know about where the wind blew or who got contaminated and all of the sicknesses that followed. And so my point is that we can change, we can learn, and we have to encourage each other. Like Jesus said, there are all these divisions, and it's not them or us, it's really just encouraging all of us to get in touch with our common humanity. And the closer we get to that, the more intolerable this whole structure of militarism and nuclear energy is. So that's my positive thought in the new year.
Hello. there's a lot happening, and Steve mentioned earlier there's a statewide rally at San Luis Obispo on trying to shut down Diablo Canyon. And every time I come here I get inspired, realizing that people are not only thinking about this, but writing about it, organizing about it. There's a guy named Harvey Wasserman helped shut down what's the atomic reactor in New York, Vermont Yankee, and he left New York, moved to California just so he could help shut down Diablo Canyon. So we're having an effect nationwide in that people are coming here to help shut down Diablo Canyon. The question is, how do you shut down Diablo Canyon? There's a banner here that says Fukushima, Earth's nuclear warning. Well, so is Chernobyl, Earth's nuclear warning. In response to Chernobyl, does anybody know how the first atomic reactors were shut down in the world in response to Chernobyl? What the German people did was, so much of the radiation fell on Germany that the one young guy in Germany decided there had to be a law passed to force the shutdown of atomic reactors. So he wrote the law, and the law is called the Law for the Priority of Solar Energy and Renewables onto the Grid. That's the German law. It's also called the Solar Payment Policy. Basically, the law says, which is what's on our petition, if you want to sign our petition, the law says, oh, there's a banner right here, it says the same thing. The utility, PG&E, must pay solar homeowners a premium amount. That's how you shut down atomic reactors. So on the 11th of every month, we come here and we say, no more nukes, shut down the nukes in Japan. And the nukes were shut down in Japan. 50 of them have been shut, and they will stay shut. That's what I've been saying every time I speak. They will never reopen the nukes in Japan. Don't interrupt me when I'm talking. I am predicting they will never reopen them, and the reason they will never reopen them is why? It's because Japan's Prime Minister Naoto Kan passed the solar payment policy in Japan shortly after the meltdown at Fukushima, which still continues, and that's what they did with Chernobyl. They passed this solar payment policy. That's how you shut down nukes. How many people know that Germany has totally banned fracking in Germany? How did they do it? They passed a solar payment policy that requires the utilities, not the government, the utilities to pay solar homeowners 99 cents a kilowatt hour. Now, why would they require the utilities to pay 99 cents for a kilowatt hour? A kilowatt hour is what, 12, 13 cents here. Why did the German people support this? I'll give you an example. One reporter went on the street, a TV reporter, and asked this young tenant, do you mind paying $20 a year extra for solar energy that you have to pay in order so that the solar homeowners get paid 99 cents a kilowatt hour? You know, they're homeowners in Germany making $300 a month from solar. And this tenant said, $20 a year for solar. I pay $20 a month for beer. Why would I mind paying $20 a year for solar? And so that's the attitude in Germany. The German population is totally, 80% of the German population supports this requirement that the utilities pay solar homeowners. In Japan, the same phenomena has happened. The majority support this form of crowd sourcing. This is what this is. A tenant pays about $1 or so a month extra for their solar energy, and they don't mind paying because they know this is how they are going to shut down the reactors and keep them shut down in Japan. They will never reopen the reactors in Japan. I don't care what the government says. Every Friday, there's thousands of people demonstrate in Japan against the reopening. And thousands of people are installing solar panels on the roofs across Japan. And a great deal is just struck between China and Japan. China just printed, manufactured the largest number of solar panels ever manufactured in the history of the world. 51 gigawatts of solar panels was printed, manufactured by China. This is like printing money. This is like printing gold. This surplus, these solar panels create surplus value, surplus commodities. We are now shifting. There is a solar revolution happening around the world, and most people are totally unaware of it. We are now entering a period of solar energy will be the dominant energy in the world. Why is it better than wind or tidal? It's because any worker, any homeowner can install 20 or 30 solar panels and make money. So this shifts the energy manufacturing to the working class. This allows the working class to take over the production of energy worldwide, and that's what is happening. So I want to encourage you to get a solar panel. Costco's selling now for $300 for your apartment, but it's important to realize this is happening, and thank you very much, everybody, for coming. I will see you again February 11th, and see you in San Luis Obispo. Thank you.
I've got Paul Joseph Watson on the line from the UK. We're going to be talking to Jakari Jackson in just a few minutes, giving us a live report from the coast of California. Leanne McAdoo is going to be joining us later in the show from Austin at a hunger strike being conducted by some activists trying to stop the fluoridation of water here in the UK. And of course, Anthony Gucciardi is going to be joining us to talk about Fukushima and radiation also in the show. But right now we've got Paul Joseph Watson on, and we've been talking about the article that just went up on Drudge Report, our article that you wrote, Paul, 1,400% radiation hotspot found on a San Francisco beach. We were just told by Kit Daniels that their first reading that the InfoWars crew took out there was 10 times normal. Now, you also broke a story about 14 million dosages of potassium iodide being ordered by the government, and they want it in just 30 days. That was kind of interesting finding.
Yeah, they're on it before the end of February.
That's right.
And people have questioned that because, you know, US public health authorities have been caught lying on a regular basis for decades and decades. And you can go back to atomic soldiers. You can go back to the EPA in the weeks after 9/11 saying that the asbestos-laden air was safe to breathe, which led to, you know, 20,000 people getting debilitating illnesses, many dying. That's why people don't trust the government in terms of public health crises, because they've been caught lying on many occasions.
Well, and of course, Anthony Gucciardi called up the representative from the government that was in charge of this purchasing order and asked him why they were doing that. And the guy beat around the bush and ultimately hung up on Anthony, wouldn't give him an answer.
He didn't seem too keen to talk about it, did he?
No.
First, he said they were just stockpiling it for some unknown reason. Then when Fukushima was brought into the occasion, he went kind of quiet. So people have questioned that, just like they've questioned, you know, the government buying the ammunition and the bullets, because they said, we buy it in bulk to save money. But in the case of the bullets, they were buying hollow point rounds, which cost a lot more than normal full metal jackets and are not suitable for training purposes. So again, they pulled the same excuse with the potassium iodide, saying we're buying it in bulk to save money. And people don't trust that because they've been caught lying on that before. But with Fukushima, again, you know, I'm not a scientist. I read a lot of polarizing stuff on both sides of the equation. Some people say it's a dire threat to humanity. Then others, mainly government spokespeople and officials, say it's completely harmless. I mean, there was a story out of Deep Sea News, which I think was one of the publications that attacked us, that said, quote, it's not even dangerous to swim off the coast of Fukushima. Well, I'd like to see them, you know, go and send their kids into the waters off Fukushima to prove that point, because thyroid cancers amongst Japanese children are astronomical now, so the effects are already being felt there.
And that's why you want to get that's why you want to get iodine. That protects your thyroid cancer. Is one of the most common ways that you're going to get cancer from exposure to radiation, because the thyroid is going to soak that up. We got pushed back on from that same article, probably Deep Sea News, because we reported observations that were made by the National Academy of Sciences in a paper there. And they said, well, that's just one place. This is real. And you're taking that all out of context, because that was all about global warming. And it's like, well, first of all, the observation said that it wasn't just at that one station. It was consistent with other readings that they'd gotten in the Pacific Ocean. But then to say that, well, that was just one station, we're talking about global warming. Well, then, if you're thinking about something that's global, wouldn't you think that it would be seen all over the place, not just in the Pacific Ocean, but in other oceans as well? And this is a very unusual event. And so you look at something that's an anomaly like that. This was like the highest amount of dead sea creatures that they had seen covering the ocean floor in 24 years of observation. It had gone from a typical 1% to 98%. They said, well, we have these snows that happen from plankton occasionally, but yet they look at something that's really unusual like that. And unless they can tie it into a government grant for global warming, they're not interested in investigating it and seeing what's there. Correlation to the location doesn't prove causality. But when you see massive events like this, canaries in a coal mine, you really ought to ask yourself what's going on here. Whether it's Fukushima or something else, you need to know.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done's been right.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight filling in for Alex. We've got Paul Joseph Watson on the phone from the UK. We've been talking about his article that's on the Drudge Report right now. 1,400% increase in radiation found near some San Francisco beaches. And we've got our InfoWars crew out there right now to take their own measurements. And our first reports are that the first place they went to take readings, they got a reading that was 10 times normal of background radiation, which is about 30 counts per minute. They took a reading there. We're going to be joined by Jakari Jackson in just a few minutes with a live report from there. But Paul, talking about this particular case here that you've got with the article, one of the things that really stuck out to me about it is that whether or not it's radiation from Fukushima or whether or not it's a concentration, as they point out, of radium and thorium, it's still dangerous if it's in a high concentration like that. And we were just talking about how the government is not interested in investigating this. When they went out and looked at the first reports of a 500% increase, the local government official said, well, it was probably just some red-painted disposable eating utensils. That was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Do you have any idea if he was being sarcastic or laughing about that? What's the context of that? I mean,
from my reading of it, it appeared as if he was being serious. But now they're saying the guy who designed the Geiger counters, the big company owner, is saying that this is dangerous to babies and young children. So yes, the local government initially dismissed it. Now they're saying it could be dangerous. But a very important article for people to go and read is called "The Ocean is Broken." It came out of the Newcastle Herald. And this was about a yachtsman named Ivan McFadden. And basically, he sailed from Japan all the way to San Francisco. And, this guy, this is not coming out of InfoWars. This is not from environmentalists. It's not from government scientists. It's from a guy who's seen it with his own eyes. He was in the same area 10 years before, only had to throw his net in the sea to get a ton of fish. He went back there, sailed from Osaka to San Francisco. And this is what he said. This was after Fukushima. He sailed in April last year. He said, "After we left Japan, it felt as if the ocean itself was dead. We hardly saw any living things. We saw one whale sort of rolling helplessly on the surface with what looked like a big tumor on its head. It was pretty sickening." Quote, "I've done lots of miles on the ocean in my life, and I'm used to seeing turtles, dolphins, sharks, big flurries of feeding birds. But this time, for 3,000 nautical miles, there was nothing alive to be seen." And he concludes by saying, "The ocean is broken." Basically said the only thing he saw was piles of debris from the tsunami, bits of cars, bits of houses. All the ocean life, all the way from Japan to San Francisco, was basically dead for 3,000 nautical miles.
Wow. And that kind of correlates with what we saw in that report from some readings that were taken by the Monterey Maritime Institute there, and was published in the National Academy of Sciences, saying that at one particular station, they saw an increase in dead sea creatures on the ocean floor from 1% to 98% coverage of the floor. And they said that there were other stations that were giving them similar readings. It was the highest readings that they had seen, the highest coverage of dead sea life that they had seen in 24 years of observation. Now, they were saying it was global warming, although global warming isn't happening. It's not just that we're having a cold winter right now. This is a 17-year trend. We're not talking about one event of an extremely cold, record-breaking winter in North America. We're talking about 17 years of data that does not support global warming. And yet, if the observations that they have there, everything has to be tied back to global warming because that's where they get their research grants. That's where they get their funding. And so they push back on that. But nobody is really looking at why this is happening. And they're not looking at the plausibility that this is radioactive material that's been leaked out in massive quantities from Fukushima now going on. We're coming up almost to 3 years in just a couple of months that this has been going on. You would expect that to have some effect, and that's apparently what this guy is observing as he goes across the Pacific Ocean.
Well, and part of the reason is that the fish eat plankton, don't they? And all the studies from around Hawaii and other areas, Canada as well, have shown that the fish have got abnormally very high levels of cesium-137, which is from the reactors in Fukushima. They did a study of the fish that Japan was selling to Canada and found that 90% and up of most of the fish had very high percentages of cesium-137 in their system. And this was around about a year ago now. So the fish are eating all that plankton, which is poisoned by this cesium-137. And then, you know, people who venture across the ocean say that there's nothing there, it's all dead. Then you get reports which you just mentioned about, you know, in certain areas, 98% of the sea life is dead. You've got reports of starfishes melting, sea lion cubs dying in unusual numbers. Even in Utah, you've got bald eagles dying that some people are linking to Fukushima. So there's a mass die-off of sea life. But again, government says nothing to worry about, move along, nothing to see here, just as they did after 9/11 with the EPA saying, you know, the air was safe to breathe.
That's
then
right.
you've got in the weeks
it fits their agenda. They've got an agenda that they want to push, and they're not interested in looking at anything that falls outside of that agenda. And they're not interested in looking at anything that affects the health of the public either.
Well, in their eyes, they would say we don't want to cause panic, but, you know, that's proven very dangerous in the past. It's killed people. I mean, the EPA, immediately after Fukushima, turned off most of their radiation detectors. They raised the safe level of radiation, certain types of it, by 100,000 times.
But, you know, it isn't just that they don't want to panic the public, because they do want to panic the public when it suits their purposes.